ici, Laurence, and they might think it's a gentleman, but this is one of the top women winemakers and estate owners in France, not just in the Rhone Valley. A couple of small pieces of housekeeping. We are going to, there are two wines that we were supporting for this tasting, the Côte du Rhône Village Sétier and the 2018 Châteauneuf-du-Pape Cuvée Réservé. We're going to talk about them towards the end of our discussion. So please go ahead and taste at will and with enthusiasm, but just don't be surprised that we're not discussing them specifically for a little while. It's probably a good idea if you put any and all questions in the chat room, and I'll try to keep an eye on it. Anthony, will you do the same? And we also have, I think, our friend who likes to answer questions as well. And that said, please join me in welcoming Laurence Ferraud of Domaine and Château Pegau or Pegau, depending on what pronunciation. We're thrilled to have you with us, Laurence. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madeline. And I know Michael is just next picture. So thank you both. But Madeline, it's great you introduced me to this special Zoom and wine tasting. I'm very happy to be with all those people in Michigan. You know, is my favorite state because I always love the people, which they are very good and very welcome all the time. So I would like to introduce Domaine de Pegau or Domaine de Pegau. We pronounce both. When we want to speak Provençal, and we have a dialect in the south of France, but there are many dialects in France. And for us, it's Provençal, and we pronounce the O, we pronounce it AU. It's why Domaine de Pegau, when we want to speak Provençal. And when we want to speak French, we say Pegau. So we created the domain with my parents in 1987. And I wanted to put a very simple and short name, is why I use it, Domaine Pegau. Domaine Pegau is, the Pegau is a wine jug, exactly the same on the slide. This jug was to pour the wine and was used during the 14th century. And the 14th century was a very important period in Châteauneuf because the Pope, they arrived in Avignon, and they built the Pope Palace in Avignon, which is an amazing building, amazing medieval. And they wanted a summer house, and they wanted to plant vines. They decided to create their summer house in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Before Châteauneuf-du-Pape, it was not Châteauneuf-du-Pape. The name was Calcernier. Calcernier, if I can translate, is limestone.
Yes, absolutely. And that is so exciting to hear. By the way, everyone, I haven't forgotten to put this on slideshow. I'm showing it this way, if it's okay with you, so that Laurence can see the slides that are coming. I don't think that's bothersome, and she can redirect me, but you can select speaker view also. Forgive me for interrupting, Laurence. So Calcernier.
Calcernier, because on the west of Châteauneuf-du-Pape appellation, we still have some carrier excavating of the limestone. Then after, when the Pope, they decided to build their summer house, they changed the name and they call it Châteauneuf du Pape. And the real translation is Pop New Castle. Many people, they understand neuf, which is not 9. It's new.
It's
in
new,
French.
right?
So Pop New Castle. I understand also because there is some confusion because the castle is not new anymore. The castle has been destroyed during the two wars, and we still have a medieval room underground of this castle. But all the people from they built the village and they moved up to the castle to build the church and the houses, and they started to live with a vineyard, and they started to produce wine. It's why Châteauneuf du Pape became famous after the 14th century. The wine was mostly sent to Burgundy and Italy because Italy was the base of the Pope. So this is a story of Châteauneuf du Pape during the 14th century. But step by step, Châteauneuf has been also very affected by the phylloxera. In 1870, all France has been devastated by this nematode, and mostly of the French vineyard died. And then after, everything was replanted. And in Châteauneuf du Pape, in 1936, the first AOP in France was created. 1936, a famous man in Châteauneuf du Pape was Baron, mm-hmm. And this Baron de Boisseau-Marié created the regulation of Châteauneuf du Pape. So since 1936, we still have the same regulation to produce the wine of Châteauneuf du Pape. It's one of the most strict regulation in France.
And that his regulations were his regulations yes. were the template for all of the appellations contrôlées, n'est-ce pas?
Yes. Mm-hmm. But for Châteauneuf du Pape was created by le Baron Le Roy de Boisseau-Marié. Mm-hmm. If you are back on the slide 5, you see this bottle of Châteauneuf du Pape with the glass printed. It's so famous because you have on the glass the hat Pope, the key of the Pope, and that bottle was created in 1937 to promote the Châteauneuf du Pape as the best wine, and guaranteed the wine was issued from a winemaker, and bottled by this winemaker. So this is very important to follow up in a different store this bar of wine. To talk about my family, my grandparents, they immigrate from Italy, and my grandmother, she had 4 children. And at that time, the only main point was to work and to earn the money and to be completely integrated into a new country like France. My father was a vine grower, and my father always worked in a vineyard. For me, I study enology, viticulture, and I also study in marketing and
business, right?
Yes. I work in different places. And then one day I decided to be back to Châteauneuf, which you see on the map. It's a very, very small village, 2,000 people, at that time even less. And it's completely south of France, southeast. if you see that map, it's very interesting because close to the Atlantic Ocean, it's Bordeaux. Bordeaux always been open to the ocean, but connected with England. Burgundy always be connected with Europe and export wine. But if you see like Avignon, the main city close to Châteauneuf-du-Pape, we are surrounded by countries like Spain and Italy. They are wine producer. And of course, we were more farmer to really be like wine, bottling the wine, or especially wine with a chateau, or that really was not the type of this area.
It was not the culture of your area, right?
It was not the culture. And when I arrived here in 1987, after my study, I really wanted to push this little village as well, and say, okay, the wine is good and the wine could be exported everywhere in the world. And in 1988, I started really to export in different countries. But why also my heart is in Michigan? Because my first wine importer, even before 1987, Jean-Charles Mathès, who was a professor in the Michigan of University, started to import the Châteauneuf-du-Pape because he was really a wine lover of Provence.
And the Côte du Rhône, he was such a great promoter of the region. Oh, yes, J.C. Mathès.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that was my first market, the Michigan.
Wonderful.
And step by step, his company became bigger, and he had really to be a real wine importer, I could say. Before, it was like hobby, imported some wine in the Michigan. But we were, the Ferro family was one of the first in Châteauneuf-du-Pape to export the wine to the Michigan. Always wanted to keep the same traditional style of the winemaking, and to continue really to have a Châteauneuf-du-Pape in a tradition. And even if I wanted to have a marketing and a forced sales much more developed, because at that time it didn't exist. So I really wanted to build an export market. Then my father teach me how was the winemaking process tradition. And then also now today I transmit to my children, like you can see my son Maxime and my daughter Justine, both they work at the domain. They are 24 and 26 years old. And my father is still working in a vineyard and is 82.
That's right. I have to, I'm interrupting to say, I have been emailing with Justine, and it didn't even occur to me that she was your daughter until 2 days ago, but she has been wonderful providing me with the pictures and the information, and how terrific that both of your kids are working with you, Laurence, and your father is still active.
Yes, I'm very lucky, and even for my father, that really give him some energy to continue to really keep on all the time. So my both children, they work, and since last December, I'm a grandmother.
Oh, then, congratulations!
Yes. So my little daughter Ella, she will be 1 year old on the 11th December.
Oh, wonderful!
So I'm really completely happy with the way. The family is very closed and solid and continues that tradition, in a very modern style and communication about all the marketing, which is very important today.
Now, your granddaughter, her name is Ella, and is she your daughter's child or your son's child?
My son's child.
Wonderful.
My son's child. It's quite rare in France. Nobody really, there's no name like Ella, but I like Ella Fitzgerald.
It's a beautiful name.
I
It's
like
very
the jazz.
warm. Mhm.
Oui. So in 1988, I started to look for others market, export market. And in 1990, sorry, I sold out all the production and we started to expand the vineyard. So as you can see, the vineyard of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and I will explain the regulation, we cannot produce more on the same surface. We are limited to produce 35 hectoliters, which is 3,500 liters per 2.2 acres. We cannot produce more. And this is a part of the regulation. That means when we increase our market and we want to sell more, we have only one solution, is to expand the vineyard. We need to find some others field and buy and do a bigger estate. The problem in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, we are also limited by the terroir. Châteauneuf-du-Pape, yes, we can go on this map. You can see Châteauneuf-du-Pape is, everything is included in green line, is Châteauneuf-du-Pape, appellation d'origine protected today. Before it was appellation d'origine contrôlée. It's today 4,000 hectares. So average 10,000 acres. 10,000 acres. We are 300 winemakers. We could say all in competition. And we have the right to plant 13 different types of grapes on this surface. And we have 4 different terroirs. So this is very interesting because even if we are 300 winemakers, everybody has his own winemaking process, his own field on a different terroir, and his own blend of different type of grapes. So that gives us 1,000 and 1,000 different combinations.
Tremendous diversity. I mean, I was shocked the one time I visited. Everyone is making wine and everyone's wine is different. You know, it was really thrilling. Yes. And it's a relatively large appellation. It's not tiny, but the diversity really struck me.
Yes, yeah. And because in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, the regulation was not made by a Grand Cru or Premier Cru. That means everything is included in the limitation of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. It's Châteauneuf-du-Pape. It could be north or south, but included in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, we have our own style. It's why it's very important to continue in the traditional style, traditional winemaking process, and to keep our own style, because it's like a signature. And it's why I never wanted to change a Pegau style. I always wanted to continue the same way, the same taste. Then all the clients, they can recognize Pegau style, even in the Côte d'Or.
Now, your vineyards are mostly on this area, is that correct? On the east, Courtisan and Bédarrides?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to explain where we are. In fact, where I'm living and where is the domain with the cellar, the winery. It's really close to the Black Point in the center. Then our vineyard is situated mostly on a triangle on the east. So that means the little brown and beige and little red. So this is, in fact, yes, this is the triangle on the east of the appellation. I have 3 terroirs. I have a stony, clay, sand, red clay. I don't have any limestone, okay? So I have the gallet, and the gallet is a stone, the sand, and the red clay. This is very important, and I like to give some examples, especially for the people. It's difficult to understand what is a terroir. In Châteauneuf-du-Pape, pick up the main type of grapes, which is Grenache. A Grenache planted in a stony soil will give a wine very powerful with a high alcohol content. It will be a red wine similar than Paso Robles red wine, or similar than really south of California, with the heat, with the power, with the fatness, with a little bit of blockbuster. So this is very different to have a Grenache in a stony soil than in a sandy soil. Sandy soil is very close to more Burgundy style, with minerality, elegance, and I could say it's more like a Pinot from Oregon.
And actually, everyone, sable means sand. I just wanted to, yes.
So the Grenache planted in the sand will be more like a Pinot from Oregon. The Grenache planted in a red clay like I have, it will be more like a cab from Washington State. Quite deep, licorice, really middle palate. And for us, we don't have a limestone, but I know some others winemakers, they have a limestone. It's quite rich, but also tannic and a little bit sharp. But it's rich because the limestone, they are white, and in fact, in the summer, they are very hot as well. So
more acidity, also, a little more tart with the limestone, or
sharp, a little more sharp, but also quite rich and high alcohol content. The sandy soil is lower alcohol. So this is very interesting because I give you the example just for one type of grapes, Grenache. So that means with the 13 different type of grapes, as I said, we have 1,000 and 1,000 combination in different terroirs for different type of grapes. And after, we have different winemaker, vinegrower, they will work the soil. We will have a different winemaking process. We will have a different aging process. And this is very interesting because we have this significant difference between the different Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
Who is this handsome? This is a beautiful lady, isn't it? It's a girl dog.
Yes, it's a lady called Heidi. Heidi, she loves coming with us during the harvest time, and
sitting on the warm stones.
Yes, she's old now. She's 9 years old for a big dog. She's 58 kilos.
58 kilos.
Yes.
She's a big girl.
Okay, then we can talk about the next slide. So you can see how much stone we have. More we work the soil, more we have stone coming up. Those stone, they come from the Alps. I could say air, it's mean a century, the second era. We had the Alps came out and they roll with all the water and like not the flood, but all the water like floats, and they arrive in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and it was like a pile of rock. It's why what more we work the soil, more we have stones. This is also a part of the regulation in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. We have to pick the grapes by hand. We are not allowed to use any machine. So we have a team, and we have plants pruned like bushes. We call goblet pruning, but it's also like bushes, quite low, and then we pick by hand. We have to do a selection on the bunch. The best bunches are for the Châteauneuf-du-Pape. The other bunches are pressed, and we give the wine to the distillery.
Oh.
In Châteauneuf-du-Pape, even my father, he was a winemaker when he was young. He has no right to produce any alcohol. As you know, we produce alcohol with a stamp. We produce alcohol with also a wine deposit. It's different alcohol. The stamp, when the grapes are fermented and we press the mast, what we have left, I mean the stamp, the seed, skin, the seeds, they go to make oil, and the marc is for the distillery. When they produce marc, they produce alcohol, in fact, for the pharmacy. And when it's a wine deposit, that is for le marc, the brandy. So the wine deposit is more selected. In fact, it's the best quality.
It's not unlike.
So let's see the second. Yes.
Do you want this one?
Alors, this is a vat. It's concrete vat where we make the wine. At Domaine de Pegau, we have a very traditional winemaking process. We arrive with a tractor and the tank behind. This tank is full of different bunches. You have to know we are in the vineyard. It's co-planted, different type of grapes, and we co-ferment as well.
So does everyone understand that? She's not just harvesting Grenache by itself. You know, everything is co-planted and co-fermented. But some areas have more Grenache, correct? And some areas have less Grenache in the vineyards?
Sure. This is again a choice. Now in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, if I find a vineyard already planted with Grenache or Syrah or Mourvèdre, I won't be difficult. I mean, I will buy it because it's an opportunity, it's a chance to buy another vineyard. But by the way, we try to, we have mostly Grenache, but it's co-planted in old vines, older than 40 years old. The vineyard, the field are co-planted on the same row. Have Grenache, white varieties like Clairette, or we can have Mourvèdre or Cinsault. Only Syrah is pruned on the trailers. Only Syrah.
So when we visit your vineyards, we can tell what the Syrah is if it's trellised.
Sure. Yes, yes. Can we be back on the 16 slide?
Yep.
Please, thank you. So here we arrive in a winery, and we threw all the bunches, the 4 bunches, into the concrete vat. That means we don't destamp. If we don't destamp, that means we don't take off the green stamp. We put everything together into the concrete vat. Mostly of the winemaking process now, they only use berries. For us, we use everything. And the stamp give some tannin, give also the structure, and give a wine with a lot of shoulders. So it's very important after to age this wine into the barrique or barrels, only old oak, to make the tannin from the stamp and from the skin very smooth. And all the wine takes usually 2 years to be completely integrated.
And you are using, did everyone catch that? Absolutely no new oak. And different barrels of different sizes, Laurence. You have smaller barrels and you have foudre as well, right?
So we have a very large foudre, 6,000 liters, but it's very difficult now to find some large barrels in a very good condition. Then step by step, we need to have more barrique, because the barrique, there's a lot of turnover in Burgundy, and then we buy second-hand barrique.
And those are 223 or 225, depending on which ones you buy.
They are
much smaller.
They are 228.
Oh, in Burgundy, right?
228. Yeah. But now the next. Okay, here you can see this is a hole from inside the vat, and you can see the must. In fact, when we threw that full bunches, full cluster into the vat, we gently pump over twice a day to homogenize and to have the fermentation and the maceration for 2 weeks. During these 2 weeks, the natural sugar from the fruit will be fermented and transform the sugar into the alcohol. After 2 weeks, someone has to go inside the vat, which is the most dangerous time, because there's a lot of carbonic dioxide, and this person will take out the must to be pressed. When the must is pressed, the wine goes into the large cask, the one you can see on the photo down with a large barrel. Very old oak cask, usually 90 years old.
Now can I ask a question about natural spontaneous fermentation, native yeast? So you do not inoculate at all. Is that unusual or usual in Châteauneuf-du-Pape?
It depends. Some people, they prefer to really keep, we say, the security, and they will add some yeast.
Right.
For us, I like to work with natural yeast, and it depends the vintage. At Domaine de Pegau, we have all the time the same blend. We have the same terroir. We don't pull out vines to replant something different. So what we have, we try to keep it as long as we can. That means when we talk about a vintage is a year. But what is the year in the wine? Is the weather we had from spring to fall. And the weather we had from spring to fall, we give maybe more juicy or drier, or it depends. The weather we had, the vintage will be different. If we have too much influence during the winemaking process, I mean, we used like yeast, or we use some temperature to cool it down, to heat up, then of course we give to the wine an orientation. In fact, we have a wine more standard.
Standardized, right.
Yes. And it's better, in fact, to leave it the natural way. But of course, sometimes the wine has a lot of character because vintage is very characteristic. But it's great when you have a blind tasting to talk about vintage because nothing really from the winemaker has an impact about the wine because it is what it is. Already we have an impact about the time which day we picking grapes, which time we picking grapes, plus the weather. This is a vintage.
And the climate is changing, and it is, you know, are you considering north-facing slopes, or how are you dealing with the climate warming up down there, Laurence, if I can ask you?
It's complicated. It's complicated. Now, if I have an example, but you know, every year we have some plant died in the vineyard or in the field. Then we replace by the senso or some of the Mourvèdre, because we try to get the senso as a big berry, very juicy. And that give a lot of juice and then is slightly more diluted or lighter. If we have the Mourvèdre is the latest ripe. Then we can play with few type of grapes included in that 13 to slightly be adapted to the warmer climate.
Thank you for explaining that. I don't know if you want to see this one. You want the next slide, 18, so you can talk about the Côte du Rhône?
Yes. In fact, it's very, very difficult for people, but everywhere in the world is why I like to use that pyramid. For people in the world, when we talk about Côte du Rhône, we talk first about an area, a large area. And the area is from Lyon to Marseille or Avignon. So this is an average from Avignon is 200 kilometers. This is a Rhône riverside vineyard. But from this riverside vineyard, we have like under classification. This pyramid is very interesting because when you go to the restaurant, then if you understand that pyramid, you will know which wine you could pick up when you go to the restaurant. I explain. Châteauneuf-du-Pape is on the top of the pyramid. We have a different cru. We have Gigondas, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, Lirac, Tavel, Baume de Vin, Rasteau, sweet red wine, Queyranne, Vin Sobre. So all those, they are cru, top wine with a very strict regulation. Different from Châteauneuf-du-Pape, but strict regulation. Below this quality, you have a Côte du Rhône village with the name of the village, like Séguré, Sablé, Roex, Plan de Dieu. So many different villages, they produce Côte du Rhône village. Below this quality, you have a Côte du Rhône village without the name of the village. That means a general Côte du Rhône village. Below this quality, Côte du Rhône. And below this quality, Vin de France. Then this is very important. If you go to the restaurant and you read examples, Séguré or Roex or Chusclin or Plan de Dieu, that means is one step below the Cru Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
It's this guy, right.
So tonight, we're going to taste the Cru Châteauneuf-du-Pape Cuvée Réservée 2018, and we're going to taste the Côte du Rhône village, but not with the villages.
Just
Because
Côte du Rhône
geographically,
village.
geographically, the Côte du Rhône village we have is not connected with a village classified. Then we have to call it Côte du Rhône village, but we cannot add any villages on the name. Okay?
Now, can you tell us briefly,
So
because we didn't.
if you are back on the pyramid, on the 18, so that means the Rhône Valley is, there's a lot of diversity. We can talk about the Côte du Rhône, but we can talk about an area, and we can talk about a wine classified. So this is quite complicated. It's why I like to explain it and to see that pyramid.
No, it's terrific. And actually, I wanted to push you to tell us, you actually created Chateau du Pegau that by purchasing a significant amount of land. You know, you purchased how many hectares and what was it, 2012 to create Chateau du Pegau?
Today, we started with my father, we started with 5 hectares, which is average 12 acres in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And after, but we bought also together Vin de France. So we until 2012, we only had Châteauneuf-du-Pape and Vin de France.
And Vin de France.
That was our 2 appellations until 2012. And the Vin de France, I really enjoy it because there's no regulation. Then we can plant any type of grapes. We can produce as much as we want. We have the sort of freedom like you can find in Florida to put
do any damn thing you want.
Yeah, in California when they started to do some wine to produce, and because when you don't have a regulation, that gives you a lot of freedom to produce a really good quality of wine. But of course, you have probably to fight to sell it because it's the lowest classification. But if the wine is good, like the Plan Pegau is quite famous, the Plan Pegau in US, it's amazing because it's great for us. Yes, so we have the Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and you can see we have the Côte du Rhône and Côte du Rhône village. And we have the both appellation Côte du Rhône and Côte du Rhône village since 2012 because we bought an estate to 3.5 miles of Châteauneuf-du-Pape south, and it's very convenient to work it. We have a winery there to make the wine for the Côte du Rhône village, and Vin de France. And we make the wine to Châteauneuf-du-Pape just for the Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So today in total, we have 58 acres. So sorry, I have to calculate. 58 acres of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, red and white. We have 7 acres of white Châteauneuf-du-Pape included into these 58 acres. We have Côte du Rhône village and Vin de France. That estate Chateau Pegau we bought in 2012. We have average 90 acres. So in total today, with the others Vin de France, we have more than 150 acres.
That's significant. That's a lot of property, Laurence. Bravo.
Yeah.
I'm going to push us to talk about this wine because I know people have been waiting for us to do that. But I have to tell you, I'm tasting it right now. And I just adore this wine. This wine is so much dark fruit, and the alcohol is very balanced on it, and the acidity is refreshing, and you get a sense of the earth, but no new oak. And it smells like flowers to me. It's just beautiful. The 19 Setier. And Setier, where did you get that? What does that word mean?
Alors, the Setier is a very old measure. The Setier is a measure when the people, long time ago, they wanted to swap 66 liters of wine in that stone bowl to the same quantity of wheat to make the bread. So it was like a money. It was in fact they swapped wine with
wheat. So it was a transaction.
Exactly. And that stone bowl, the Setier, is 66 liters, but that's easy to understand because 66 liters is in fact half of the pièce. The pièce is half of the barrique. You have the barrique, the pièce, and after the Setier.
So that's the name of an old measure, an ancient measure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And
this wine is a typical blend. I always, in 2012, I really wanted to show the best of a classic expression of terroir with a classic blend type of grapes. So Grenache 60%, 20% Syrah, 20% Mourvèdre, completely GSM. And you have the expression of the terroir, the expression of the type of grapes. The winemaking process is like a Pegau, full cluster, 2 weeks, press. We noticed the Mourvèdre brings a lot of freshness and also a part of tannin. It's why the 2019 we started to age a little quantity of this wine into the oak, but old oak as usual, never new oak. In fact, what you have to understand, when we make the wine with a full cluster, we already have the tannin from the skin and the stem. Then we have to age the wine in old oak to just profine, to just make them smoother.
Relax
if
the
we
wine,
make the
right.
wine with only, yes, berries, then we needed to have a structure and tannin from the oak. Then it will be better to use the new oak if we made another winemaking process.
But that's wonderful. You're clarifying for us one of the reasons why you you do whole cluster fermentation and you don't destem. You don't need the barrel tannin. You have the grape tannin. And you have to be pleased with this 19. I don't know how many years you've been making the Setier, but I think this is a wonderful, wonderful quality of fruit in this vintage.
And it's a wine you can age. You can age. It's a wine you have. It's a big wine, but not heavy. It's a big wine with a black fruit. You can age this wine over than 5 years. For sure. It will be fabulous on a ribeye or with a lot of pepper, yes. And for me, I really like, it's very masculine wine, but very, quite powerful, but not heavy, not,
No, it's powerful and elegant at the same time. I think the purity of fruit is terrific. I have to tell everyone, it makes me smile to hear you say ribeye because you obviously like visiting the United States, and also you have mentioned California. And what's so touching to me in reading a little bit about you, you've traveled with some of our superstars like Paul Draper from Ridge and Randall Graham. And you enjoy top California wine. You love Burgundy. You love Champagne. I've heard you say, you know, if you sold your most expensive wine, then you have a chance of buying a little more Dom Perignon or Bomar, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you
You're
really
right,
have,
you're right.
you have a one, you know, you're grounded in the tradition of this region, but at the same time, you have a strong appreciation for quality from everywhere and different kinds of wine. And I find that really wonderful, Laurence.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, Madeline. Yeah, I like, you know, everywhere in the world, there's a magnificent wine. Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, USA. I think it's, of course, all the Europe like Italy or Spain, but I really like the wine from California, because I know California for a long time, like Ridge, like Joseph Phelps, like Heights, and many different winemaker. They were on place in California for so many years. And even after, I really appreciate some wine from Washington State and Oregon, and the diversity today with American wine, it's incredible. And I can see also the progress. I could say today is not progress, but the progress in the structure, because in California now they start to have really some orientation vineyard, different type of grapes, different blend. Long time ago, the blend was not appreciated in US. But today the blend is a complexity and give to the wine something really elegant, long aging, more intellectual wine. Is why I really appreciate some of American wine today, because they really go in the intellectual tasting. It's great.
No,
because
they're
I can
layers
see
of
the
complexity, right?
yeah. And one of the, but you talk about Ridge, but Ridge already understood very quickly. Some of the part was Montobel, was Little Spring, and quickly understood how to really, fix this different terroir and different cuvée. That was amazing at that time.
But also, you know, you're talking about a legendary California winery and one of the great winemakers, you know, ever to come out of California. Paul Draper, very special man, you know, he's near to my heart, you know, and I'm very touched that you mentioned different growing regions like Oregon, Washington State, Paso Robles. So you're well familiar with our terroir, our emerging terroir, you know. So I'm going to take us back, though, to Châteauneuf-du-Pape, because we have to talk about this special wine. And this is the 18, which was not an easy vintage for you, correct? But the wine is showing very forward, very delicious right now.
For me, I love I could say the lighter vintage. 2018 for me, it's a great balance, but only in the finesse and in the elegance. But the balance is superb. And I really appreciate more and more the wine with a lot of elegance, and the wine Châteauneuf-du-Pape when they are very approachable and very digest. Today it's quite important. Châteauneuf-du-Pape, to be a Châteauneuf-du-Pape, by the regulation, the wine has to be minimum 12.5% alcohol. In 18, we had some rain. We had big berries because when it's rainy, the berries they swallow, and of course, if they are bigger, it's more juicy. If it's more juicy, the skin is thinner, and of course, there's less tannin. But by the way of the maturity, the wine became completely well balanced, and I like this light but spicy and great length, and the perfect balance in this 18.
You know, it's showing
For me,
very well
it's
balanced,
always-
even now, La Jeunesse, and it
Mm.
still shows balance. Right.
Yes, and I love this sort of style of vintage that remind me 2008. Remind me also 2006, and some of the 2013 fruit, and all in elegance, but a little bit of power. And
It's not light, Laurence. It's got plenty of muscle, you know.
Yeah, and I have been very, very surprised for vintage. We said light, but the acidity is quite high, and then this wine aged very well. Sometimes a wine overripe could age faster, but a wine like 2008 could go very long in time in the storage. And because I have in my cellar some different vintage, they were not top vintage, they were a bit light, but when I open today, they have amazing balance, and they can age perfectly.
You know, this also to me displays that, can you define that term? We hear it all the time, garrigue. What are we talking about when we say garrigue? Because to me, it's a combination of earth and plants and flowers and, lavender and bushes. And, I would like to hear you talk about garrigue a little bit, because this is what this smells like to me.
The garrigue is wild herbs. When I go to my vineyard, the part of the vineyard is Lacrau. I have 2.2 acres of wood. It's not wood like in Michigan. It's dry wood, I could say. I mean, short tree, more oak, pine, and under this wood we have wild thyme, wild rosemary, we have wild mint as well, and very, very many different herbs grows along the track or just in the wood, and it's very perfume, exuberant. And this is very important to have a vineyard surrounded by wood to give all this smell to the grapes during the season.
Oh, it's fantastic the way you describe it, because I've never been able to put my finger on it the way you're talking about it. Now, I have to ask you, if we are inspired, can we come visit you? Look at this beautiful shot of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Do you mind our company? Can we come say hello when we get to travel again?
Yes, I would like really, but you have to know, Domaine de Pegau, you can go on our website, which is pegau.com. You can visit the website, but you can even be informed by each wine. If you click on it, you will have the technical sheets for each wine. And then if you, of course, wants to visit Domaine de Pegau, you go on a contact. My daughter or my assistant or even myself, it depends the time we have. We answer to everyone, even for your questions. I really want to keep a very strong, my client and the wine lover, the Pegau wine lover, then all the time we answer to any questions if you want to know. But if you want to visit the domain, please get in touch with us, take an appointment, and we'll be very pleased to receive you, to make the visit of the winery, to give you the tasting, and to see the vineyard. You could see the vineyard, but because our vineyard is parcel out, it's never easy. But we have one field just in front of the domain. And this place is we call Montpertuis, and is on the Bédaride Road, and we can see from our vineyard the Château de Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
Wonderful.
Is why I took this photo.
You
So
know-
you are welcome.
Oh, thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you, everyone, for your attention. Thank you for everyone to be a wine lover. And please continue to drink wine, because I think we're still very healthy.
And if you can stay with us just for a few more minutes, I know you must be sleepy, but everyone, if there's anyone who would like to unmute and make a comment about the wines or ask a question. Anthony, I'm going to call on you only because you told me how much you like the Côte du Rhône Sétier, and I tasted it for the first time an hour ago. Do you mind unmuting and making a couple of comments about that wine, or any comment you want to make to Laurence?
Yeah, I mean, I think as is the case with a lot of Côte du Rhône, they drink as good as a lot of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. I think that while terroir is super important, the producer is as important in a lot of other regards. And I think that this is a tremendous value. And I think you put it very nicely, Laurence, about how it is a big wine, but not heavy. And it is sort of serious in a way, but also very playful and drinkable. I mean, you can easily drink a few bottles of the wine.
It's dangerous, don't you?
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
We've got
Okay,
Rod
thank you.
on our team here, and we've got Mike Pfeiffer on our team, and we've got a lot of friends that visit us every time we have a tasting. Anyone else want to speak up before we let Laurence go to bed?
This is Rod. I'd like to say a few words.
Hello.
Ann Arbor is always, Laurence has been like a cult figure in Ann Arbor, because I can remember J.C. Mathis, who this year passed, introduced your wine into the state. Hello, Fred McTaggart. He's a great Rhone lover who lives up in, I believe, the Kalamazoo area. But in any case, I believe he brought in the 89 vintage to us. And it was tremendous. And a lot of our customers bought cases of that wine, and they were well rewarded with that, because I believe that wine is still holding up quite well. It's a legendary wine. And there's lots of people in Ann Arbor who have verticals of your wines going across many years.
Thank you, J.C. Mathis. I'm raising a glass to J.C.'s memory. Yes.
But I've always been honored to carry your wines. It's nice to have seen an estate come into existence during my time in the business, and then go all the way to the top from where you are. So my hat's off to you. My glass up to you. Always happy to drink your wine and promote them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I always, is what I say, I always like Michigan. And I know you are produce also some wine in Michigan.
Yes, very much
Yes.
so. We have a dynamic wine culture, both
I know.
in the north and in the southwest, but no Grenache.
Yes.
We do have Gamay that does very well. And believe it or not, we have Blanc Frankish that's doing very well. But our big strength is dry Riesling and champagne style wines.
Okay.
And a little bit of Pinot Noir and
Okay,
Cabernet
that's good.
Franc. We have to take you to wine country the next time you come to Michigan, Laurence. We'll take you to our wine country
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
Great Lakes.
if I remember well, once I tasted a type of grapes called Paco Noir.
Baco Noir, yes,
Baco
absolutely.
I
Um,
remember
a
was really
hybrid,
black.
yes. Mhm,
Yes,
no, but we
yes.
also have
That
vinifera
was-
too. It's just a cooler climate with the effect of the Great Lakes that make it possible for us to grow grapes here. Fred, thank you for being here. I don't know if you wanted to say hi to Laurence or if anyone else wants to speak up.
Well, I have always
Thank
loved
you.
Pegau wines since that 1989 vintage, and I still have some of it. And I visited Laurence at Pegau in 1992, I believe it was, and she gave me a very, very great tasting. And
Thank you.
I really appreciated it.
I hope the world will become back as it was, traveling easily, and that will be great.
You know, it will happen
would like-
eventually. Mhm. It will happen.
Yeah, yes. But I have some American visitors. I have. It's
we still have to be
Okay,
careful. Okay.
but I hope you enjoyed the Châteauneuf-du-Pape as well. With you have seen there's 13 different varieties in the Châteauneuf-du-Pape as well. Huh? So this is the Châteauneuf-du-Pape is very elegant, but I like it on the lamb. This
With
Châteauneuf.
lamb, yes. Agneau,
With
and
lamb.
what's your favorite lamb preparation? Do you like roast lamb or lamb chops? How do you
Yes.
make it at home?
I have some like a shoulder, a big laps of lamb. I put with olive oil, with rosemary, and sometimes on top I like to put. I'm sure you have some sweet wine. And then if you put a little bit of sweet wine on the top of the lamb, it becomes caramelized.
Ah,
And
like-
it's delicious.
like port, that type of thing, or red, sweet
Yes,
red wine? Mhm.
You are sweet wine. You know, Pegau produce sweet wine, but it's sold out. Yes, white sweet wine.
So it's like a Vendu Naturel, that type of thing, or?
Yes, it's
yeah.
Vendu Naturel, and it was 9% alcohol for 135 grams of sugar.
Oh my
But,
God.
Yeah, but 9 alcohol, nothing, no alcohol.
No alcohol.
In fact, it was early vintage. We picked the grapes early vintage. It's why this wine had a high acidity. Very interesting, like a German wine.
But that's the best when you have sweetness and acidity. That's the best, you know,
Yeah.
I think.
Sure. Yes,
Well,
yes.
thank you for staying
Okay.
on so late with us. If anyone else wants to unmute and thank Laurence, we really appreciate it. Michigan loves you. We're waiting for you to come back in person.
I
But,
loved Michigan as well. I love Michigan, and I love Ann Arbor. It's a beautiful city.
Michael, thank you for being on.
Okay.
You're one of the reasons why she loves Michigan. Thank you, Laurence.
Thank you, Laurence. Thank you, Madeline.
Thank
And
you. Thank
wait-
you to everyone to stay with me more than an hour. I don't know. I really enjoy to explain my work, my passion.
You were a great ambassador for Châteauneuf-du-Pape, but an even greater ambassador for Pegau. And we will look forward to meeting Justine and Max too. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Madeline. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, all of you. Ciao.
And before
Good night.
everyone gets off, I want to make sure that I tell you what's happening. Our last virtual tasting of the year will be, no surprise, champagne. Yes. and that's happening on December 16th. So back to a Thursday, back to 6:30 p.m. And we will discuss when taste Tétanger, Brut La Française, famous, historic actually by this time, cuvée, a grower champagne, Nicolas Maillard. It's an extra brut that I believe we have an exclusive on. And we will also taste a delicious refined rosé champagne from Drapier made by the Saignée method. And I'll probably, if I can get it together, have a little list of a handful of champagnes that are special and particular to each of our stores, because I know that some of you like to support Mike at Ann Arbor West, some of you like to support Jorge at North Campus, some of you love our Bloomfield store, where Jason is the wine team leader now, and some of you are happy visiting West Bloomfield and seeing Mike Timpa. So thank you very much for your patience and your support and your company, all of you, Scott, Elaine, it's so many, Paul Wilson, one of my guests from my rattlesnake years, which is just terrific. Paul, Yola, wonderful to see you all, and the Moroffs, of course. Thank you for your company. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I sure hope you enjoyed Laurence. How could you not? Isn't she special? She manages to educate us and charm us all in the same breath. And the wines are in the glass, right? So take good care, everyone. Thank you for your company.
Thank you.